Hi, I'm Lise Colucci, and I am one of Queen Being's life coaches. And I'm here to offer you support as you discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse and how toxic relationships have affected you personally. So, hello. I see there are lots of people here today. Dude, trust me. Hello, Phoenix. Trust me. Not Phoenix. Trust me, Phoenix. Hello. Let's see. Who else is in here? Jonathan. Hello. Tam. Hello. James. Hello, everyone. What is up? James says, what up, all? So today I wanted to talk a little bit about triggers or hoovers or anything that knocks you off your own track for healing. You know, you're going along and you're starting to feel better, or you're like, you know, doing your thing, and then you get a hoover or you have a mad trigger or something, and it just throws you way off and messes up your whole day and screws it all up, basically. So what do you guys do to help yourselves with that? Or do you do anything? And so I have some ideas about that. This was a question asked, and so I'm going to just talk here. One thing is when, you know, you have a trigger or you have a hoover. I mean, it really can be anything that is taking you away from your own healing, right? Anything that's throwing you off track and stealing your focus. Then, you know, you got to allow the feelings that you have in the moment and validate them, because a lot of what we've done, can you guys hear me? Because I have my microphone in a weird spot and I'm going to move it. If you validate your feelings, you know, when we have been abused or when we've been around toxic people, we've had a whole lot of time where we haven't been validated, and what we feel is, you know, pushed aside, or we're not able to express it or feel it. So we don't want to just go straight there. So give yourself a few minutes to just feel the hoover. You can't stop it. You can't stop the feeling of adrenaline coursing through you when you have a trigger or you've been hoovered. You just can't. It's your body reacting to stress, right? So just allow it and know what's happening. I know I'm totally stressed. I'm feeling triggered. Okay, this is adrenaline. All right. So then breathe. That's the second one. Breathe and allow it. Breathe and allow yourself to feel what you need to feel and know that you're going to get through it. Okay. And then get out and get active. This is like the best thing for me personally. I don't know. I realize a lot of people get triggered when they walk, some people, and some people it is absolutely essential. So taking a walk if you can. If you can't, then get active in the house. Start cleaning, start doing something active that you can distract yourself with. That anxiety that you're feeling, that adrenaline pumping through you needs to go somewhere. Because once you have it, it's a hit of adrenaline. What are you going to do? If you just sit there, you're gonna spin your wheels. You know, the anxiety is gonna rise, and the adrenaline's gonna just keep coursing. You have to move it out. You have to move it through. Yes, mindfulness does help. And that comes to the next point. After you've moved around a bit, I have to move. I can't just sit there once the adrenaline is there, or else it's like a mini panic attack, you know. But moving around helps. And Tam says, yes, active, channel the energy somehow. I once used it to finally hang photos I'd put off for years. Right. A project in the house. It can be anything. You don't have to get out and, you know, walk 4 miles. You just movement helps, because it's a physiological reaction is what I'm saying. Is the adrenaline, you know, we think it's all emotional, but once it hits the body, it's also physiological, and we got to move it and respect the body for telling us it needs to move around. And then mindfulness. Yes, that is another great way to calm it down and bring yourself back to your own center and bring yourself into the moment, rather than, you know, usually a trigger or a hoover will take us into the past and then throw us into the future. And we bypass the moment we're in, right? Because we're going, oh my gosh, this happened. It's just like before, you know, it's a reminder. Or if it's a hoover, it's, you know, it may bring up memories that are good or bad. It can be either. And then it throws you straight into the future of what will be, what's going to happen. What are they going to do next? Or what ifs, you know, all of that. So mindfulness can help bring you back and keep you focused. So, and there's lots of techniques, and there are a lot of videos, and there are a lot of teachers and whatnot out there that can help you with mindfulness practices. I have a couple of videos, 3, I think, on it. Angie has a bunch, and I mean, a lot of people do. So look those up if you need them, because that can be really helpful. And then the next point, let's see, Tam says, So sorry about that, Misty. Good insight. Yep, there are. Oh, Misty, I missed what you wrote. You said triggers. Had one yesterday when my sis-in-law said that my stepdaughter sent her a friend request. Just means they're curious again. Yeah. And Tam saying, sorry about that, Misty. They're curious why you haven't come running back yet. That's right. That's right. And they're curious because that's what people are, right? And so once you've had a moment to collect yourself, take action toward finding your way back to your goals, finding your way back to yourself. I'm not talking about when you're newly discarded or when you're you don't have a plan yet and you haven't found your focus yet. I'm talking about when you're derailed, when this stuff just like totally knocks you off track and you think, whoa, I'm way back here again. What happened? I was fine. I was doing so good. And now I'm not doing so good anymore. I'm talking about those times. Take action to get back to where you were, or even, see if it can help propel you forward. So basically you use the energy. And what did I write here? I said, take back any amount of control that you have, because by taking back any amount of control that you have towards yourself, you are regaining your agency. And the agency to act upon your own will is crucial to your healing and to your thriving. So anything you need to do, if it's blocking, setting a boundary, it depends on what the situation is, right? So figure out what it is that you can do about the situation. And if there's nothing, let it go and move forward towards your own healing. Forget the Hoover, right? And remember to affirm that you've got this, that you can take care of yourself, and you have been, and this isn't a setback. This is just what happens when a person is triggered or hoovered or anything like that. And, the body takes over, right? And the minds and the emotions take over. So it's just what happens. And you can affirm to yourself that you got this and you can get right back on track, right? Another thing that I find useful is to take a break from it and call a friend, go hang out, go do something fun, do something for you, because that puts you back into a self-focused mindset instead of, and when you're with that friend, don't be dwelling on what happened. I mean, mentioning it's fine, but change the topic, find positive things to talk about, find anything that is a shared interest, something, anything. Tell them a story, anything. Get them to tell you a story, anything. Just do something that isn't driving you back down into the Hoover or the trigger. I mean, mentioning it and venting is one thing, but then let it go and move forward, because use this time to take a break from it so that you can get back on track. So anybody have anything else they want to talk about, you can just interrupt me or not interrupt me, but rather just talk about it, and I'll interrupt myself and read it. Misty says, thank you, Tam. I'm hidden from that family. My sister-in-law deleted it. Anxiety kicked in because of fear of them contacting me. Yeah. So you see, in that situation, Misty, where can you take control back, right? Or where can you realize that you actually have control? They can't find you, right? You're hidden from them, at least enough of them, right? So it's letting go of that anxiety, because what happens is it steals our focus, and then the rest of the day becomes about them again. And the whole point is we're trying to get away from that, right? You had a trigger last night, and that is is that Anna? I think that we decided your name was Anna last time. Is that right? I'm sorry. You had a trigger last night. How did you cope with it, and how are you feeling today? And is anything I'm saying useful for that, or do you have other questions that can help you move past it? Triggers happen, they're going to happen. They happen to most people. It's just that we know why, and we know what the trigger is, and we know we don't want to go there, right? We don't want to experience that again. So, I mean, it makes sense that we would be more reactionary to them than other people who haven't had abuse. So, what helps you guys feel less drawn back into the narc drama, or less drawn back into it? What helps you regain your focus toward yourself? I mean, the whole point is to um, not spend our lives dwelling and ruminating on the people that we've left for good reason, right? So what helps? You said, not as bad, thanks. I phoned helpline. Oh, good. And you did some deep breathing. Perfect. So you sought help and you breathed. That's perfect, right? And I'm glad it wasn't as bad. Learning to cope with triggers is a skill, I think. It can, now anymore, I use the energy to do something. So one thing I didn't put down here is you're going to feel what you feel in your body, and usually you associate something with your mind. So if I feel anxious from a trigger, I feel adrenaline. What I'm feeling is the adrenaline response, right? And the cortisol rising and the, those kind of things. And they don't feel really good in your body, right? So you can, whoa, sorry, that's bright. You can, I'm going to move that. Hello. Okay. You can, well, I said get active, but really, I deliberately tell myself that I'm having a trigger, that I've had an experience where I am remembering something, or it has triggered an emotion that I don't want to feel right now, or I don't want to feel ever. And I take that and I say, okay, but now I'm filled with all this feeling of energy and anxiety. What do I do? And I will find something to do to put my focus on, if that makes sense, and use the energy, like Tam was saying, to hang whatever, to do a chore that you've wanted to do, to anything. And it really does help, because then I'm not so angry about the trigger. I just say, haha, I used you. Okay, I got it. I'm using that energy. It's mine. It's basically. And Phoenix says, it helps me to go where love feels are not fake, honey Hoover. Yes, it does help to go to find something loving and nurturing around you too. Shastina, hello. Jonathan, oops, I had a brain fart and forgot about chat. Did that help in the beginning? It did help in the beginning. Thank you. And it helped because I wasn't in here yet. And so it was nice to walk into a room that had some continuity. Thank you. Diane says, for the triggers that are debilitating, I like to have a plan of action in place so that my reaction is a healthy one. What do you consider a healthy reaction to a trigger? I'm curious. Because there can be healthy reactions. And Johnson says, my mother is pulling some love bombing and hoovering on my eldest kid. Ugh. Misty, I found a good image of a quote you shared when I was last in. Oh, great. So yeah, I'm waiting to see if Diane has an example of a healthy response or reaction to a trigger and what that feels like to you. Dude, trust me, letting go of everything that was stolen or done to me, story above, it takes a lot to let go. It really does. But I find I can stop focusing on the narc when I no longer need to hold him or her accountable. Exactly. Because honestly, they're not going to hold themselves accountable. So when we try to force something that is never going to happen, all it does is make us spin our wheels. It does not bring closure or resolve anything. It's just frustrating and infuriating. And then your whole day and your whole life is focused back on something unresolvable and something that is never going to get better, right? So you're right, letting go. And then how you get there, that's a road we all got to walk, right? We got to find our own way to that place. Jonathan says no is a complete sentence and does not require justification or explanation. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Jonathan says, dude, trust me, would you say this ties into boundaries? Because that's how I have been understanding it. And Diane's saying, if I am super triggered, I have ideas of what I will do. For example, I might call a friend who is super supportive and engage in a conversation that does not include the narc. Exactly. That's what I was talking about earlier with one of the points is hanging out with a friend. Why does it do that? Hanging out with a friend or calling a friend and mentioning what's up is fine, but then refocusing the conversation on something super supportive or super fun or whatever you need that has nothing to do with the toxic issue at hand can help you a lot. It can help it makes you feel like there's more to life than this, if that makes sense. Like you still have the, oh, hey, people are coming in my house, but they're supposed to be. Okay, hey dogs, you need to stop. Sorry. Anyway, we're going to bark now. Okay, so anyway, yes, it can make you feel like you know what, dogs? It can make you feel like you have a life outside of the narc or the toxicity or whatever it is. And that break from it is such an amazing relief to your nervous system. Anyway, going to go back up here and see what people are saying. Phoenix says, when I feel anxiety trigger, it helps to cheerlead myself from can't mindset to you're doing great. You're doing it. This is what it looks like. You're doing it. Self-care. Absolutely. That's a good point. And that's what I was talking about with affirming. Whatever works for you for affirming, keep doing it, because that you're going to talk yourself either into it or out of it, right? We're already having dialogues in our head about how we can't do something or how something's awful. We're already doing it. So we may as well flip it around to something positive and affirming so that it actually leads us to where we want to be rather than the road that this trigger or Hoover or whatever it is taking it down. Diane says, I will consciously focus on me. Right. I like that. Tam says, I dig into my self-care kit too. Do something fun, drawing, crochet, knit, journal, eat a bit of chocolate, etc. That's perfect. And we haven't talked about self-care kits. I haven't on here. I do in the group, but not on here. Actually, I haven't in the group lately. I think I will bring that up tonight. Self-care kits. Create one. Make something for yourself that you can go to so when you have a trigger or you have a Hoover or whatever it is that has a bunch of stuff in it that nurture your senses or creativity. Nurtures your creativity, because that's a way to take your focus back, right? The whole point is we got to take our focus back from the toxic person in our life or people in our lives, right? Or take it for the first time. If we never have done it, then that's a whole new experience. And Anna, it's Anna, is that right? How do you tell the difference between constructive criticism and snarky comments? Okay, that's a good question. You can't know another person's intent, right? We can only know what they express to us. So one way is you can ask. I mean, I guess it depends on the situation. Are we talking about, tell me what you're talking about. Are you talking about from people that do not necessarily appear to be toxic, but they just make a comment and it feels like you can't tell if it's snarky or constructive? If it's a toxic person, it doesn't matter whether it's constructive or not. It's not worth listening to, right? I mean, sometimes we have to in a workplace situation, and we can weigh it like, yeah, I guess I should be doing that thing. Okay. But I think constructive criticism, if you can learn to accept the fact that you're not perfect, because no one is. I have a banging house and barking dogs, and I'm far from perfect, and I know it. It doesn't matter, right? Okay, so if you can accept that you're not perfect, and you get a critique that is that feels to you like it is somewhere you'd like to go with your life, like you could sit up straighter, and it would be more this or whatever, whatever. It does. I don't know. It depends on the critique, right? Then if you can use the information, then it benefits you. If it makes you feel like someone's judging you, then maybe that person isn't who you want to be talking to, right? So I guess it depends on yourself and how well you handle, how do you feel when you are corrected, so to speak, or not even corrected, but when you have constructive criticism thrown your way, how do you feel in general? And then depends on who's saying it and the purpose of why they're saying it. So if you have any reply to that, I'll keep talking about it. Jonathan says, it seems MM does better if Julie and I provide similar affirmations. Yes. Justina, I used an app called Mind Warriors, which walks you through the steps of how to handle when you're being triggered. for those that are just starting out, it was a big help for me. Yeah, that's great. Having an external way to walk yourself through it. And that's kind of what the self-care kit I was talking about, putting together an actual kit of things to do for yourself when you are triggered, and just have it handy, especially if you're in a stage where it happens a lot. Things to nurture yourself. I like Tam's piece of chocolate in there. That's nice. Creative things, distracting things, things that smell good, things that, you can eat, whatever. Having those handy kind of does similar to what you're talking about. It's a little different than being walked through it, but it's like having an external support system at the ready, right? And I like that you had that app. I'll have to look at that. Let's see. Julie has been crocheting like crazy lately. Hi, Ruby, another doggy who I can't remember the name of, Oswald. Yes, the sweet puppies, they barked because a child came in the house, which they have to protect me from all of those things. Let's see. Yes, I always take a lot to heart. Okay. So I think when you, it wouldn't be crushing guilt is what you're talking about with the, you're talking about, sorry, going back here. Oh, constructive criticism. Okay. That you take it to heart. Okay. So I think until you can start to see that it's okay to not be perfect, and that it's okay to not, it's okay to make mistakes. And that if we don't make mistakes, then we don't grow, because nobody, like most people, I don't know of anyone who does something and then walks up life, like I'm playing with pens, walks up life like they're on stairs, right? So it's like, I do this thing and then I get up to this level, and then I do this thing and I'm at this level and I'm at this. No, we kind of like stumble backwards and we make mistakes and we do things, and then suddenly we're way up here. So if we're looking at how to improve our lives, then we have to be able to accept that some of the things we do aren't perfect, aren't good enough. We are good enough, right? Essentially, you are enough, but not everything you do is going to be a reflection of that. Does that make sense? And it's finding a way to not take it to heart and to take it to logic instead. Constructive criticism should not be something that is meant to touch your emotions. It should be something very logical. That's how I would see the difference. Something that is snarky is meant to hurt you, right? And to learn to see the difference sometimes means looking at yourself and why you feel, why you take things to heart. And without knowing that, I can't really say much more. Everyone's different on why they take things to heart. So does that make sense? Let's see. We're talking about crocheting. We love to crochet. I need to learn that. I love to knit, but I haven't in a while. Working on a scarf. Let's see. Yeah, I agree with Lise. I think it depends on who is saying it for one, right? And if they aren't a narc or enabler or a flying monkey, right? If they are not toxic in any way, then you look at yourself and say, why can't I accept? I don't know. It depends on you, right? Why does it do that? It gets blurry and I don't know. I think it's when I move. And Jonathan's saying it depends on the person who's saying it. Maybe consider trust relationship you have with the person saying it. If it's a person it's toxic. Another thing is your programming. You may have been programmed basically from whomever your mother would. I was just about to say your mother, and then I thought, I don't know her. Maybe it's not your mother. Okay, but it is, as you're saying. My mother would criticize me and I don't feel safe with her. Okay, so when we have things that go back, to the way we were raised, everybody has programming from the way they're raised, right? We're not free will thinking in that regard. We base our impressions of ourself on the way we were taught to believe in ourselves or not. Right. So to change that can take some work. And, And that's some of the stuff we do in a few of the groups that I have, of the group coaching groups, is we work with NLP exercises to walk people, or I work with NLP exercises to walk people through seeing where these things came from and then disbelieving them and shifting your own belief about yourself. So you're no contact with her for your mental health sake. Good. Okay. Yeah. And so it's changing your belief about yourself right there then, that when you hear her voice criticizing you, put the voice you want in there instead. She's not here to criticize. She's not in the room with you. And even if she was, her opinion doesn't matter if she's being toxic, right? So replace the negative self-talk that you hear with positive, affirming kindness, and be realistic. We don't have to go straight to "I'm the most wonderful thing," blah blah blah. Can just be realistic about yourself rather than negative. And just doing that can make a huge shift. It's shifting your beliefs, and is how we reprogram, right? Learning to reparent. So Diana, hello. It says, I just heard something I loved. Conceptually, I want this to be true. There are no toxic people. There are lots of toxic behaviors from crappy childhood fairy. From the crappy childhood fairy. I don't know. I want that to be true, but I believe there are toxic people, because there are people who do not have empathy. I get a little tired of naming, like saying they're a narc. I don't know what they are. I know they're toxic, and I know people who don't have empathy can never be what's the word I want to use? Not proactive. They can never be productively kind to other people because everything's about themselves. So if that's the case, then they kind of are toxic people. But the point is, if you don't take them in, all they are is a toxic behavior towards you. So maybe that's a way to look at it. At least that's how I see it. Like, if I don't take them in and allow them into my heart and head, then all they are is simply toxic behavior that is around me that I don't wish to be around, right? Shastina, wow, my cell disconnected me, then shut down. Oh no. I don't like when that happens. Jonathan says, I'm thinking on that to Diana. I wonder, how does that fit into accountability when people spewing toxic behaviors won't take accountability for them? Well, yeah, see, I think that statement doesn't include narcissists and psychopaths because they're pretty toxic. I mean, as people, that's the problem. If they weren't toxic as people, it'd be workable because they would take accountability and could change their behavior. And I don't know. Anna says, I'm learning to be kind to myself. I now tell myself that I am not a bad person, just a person. Yes. And you can work toward, I am a good person. I'm a loving person, whatever. Find a quality maybe that you see in yourself that feels right, and add that in, just start upping it. That's my suggestion. And that's good that you're learning to be kind to yourself, because that's step 1 through forever, really, is coming back to kindness towards yourself. There's no one that can do it better than you can do for yourself in that regard, because it's what we believe about ourselves that creates the life that we live. It really does. So keep working on that. It's amazing how it shifts things. Lise mentioned programming. I'm really struggling to break mine. It's not one thing, right? You don't excuse me, you don't change your programming and then take out one chip and put in another and suddenly you're different. It's so many layers of so many things in every facet of life. So don't be discouraged if you feel like it's a struggle, because I'll bet you in some ways you've changed a lot. And in other ways, maybe not so much. And that's just how it is. That's how we all are. And that's kind of part of our purpose, right? It's part of what we're doing, right? So let's see. Julie is here, you're saying. And And Julie Pratt, you've been around my mother and grandmother, so I think you have been around narcissists, to be honest. Okay. Because fleas, right? Oh, hi, Julie. Julie Pratt. I have never been around narcissists before, but my husband. Okay. So you have, because you've been around your mother-in-law, right? Mara, hello. Lise, can you talk about dealing with young children, namely disciplining? I don't use corporal punishment, but sometimes I get frustrated and express it verbally. I'm constantly checking myself. Yeah. In what regard? Disciplining young children. How young? And I think the way I handle, or the way I see parenting young children with disciplining, is choosing your battles, because they are willful little creatures, and that's a good thing, because that will is what gets them through life, right? And we don't want to crush that. But at the same time, we need some order and peace and harmony in our lives. So this isn't really my area. Having had lots of kids, I can only speak from there. And realizing that they're each individuals. I think that seeing a child as an individual goes a long way into teaching empathy to that child, because then they feel validated as a person. And so then the discipline changes, right? It changes based on what their needs are and what your needs for the family or your home is. So it's finding a way to tailor it to that particular child. And I don't know, you get frustrated and express it verbally. Mindfulness. Do some mindfulness practices when you're not frustrated. It helps bring everything into a calmer space inside yourself, so that when you do get frustrated, you don't as fast to get reactive. It helps me a lot. Mindfulness practices is, if you can do a few times a day, it's awesome. If you can only do it once, just do it in the morning, so that you have some reserve for the rest of the day. Things like that, I think, help. I always bring it back to myself when I'm thinking about children, or really dealing with anyone. I can't control the other person. I can only control my reaction to the other person, right? Let's see. I hope that helped a little. You can ask more specifics if you want. How do you know what is false programming this is Shastina. How do you know what is false programming from what should be the norm, especially if you cannot find a therapist? Well, my answer to that is anything that hurts you, anything that is unkind toward you, anything that is not leading you down a path you want to take in life, is most likely programming. Because our will basically is to live, survive, thrive, right? We're not coming to the world with, most of us, with this broken, so to speak, sense of, so anything that makes you not feel positive about yourself. And that's not to say we shouldn't look at our flaws, because we totally should. But we don't need to be negative about them. We can just be like, oh, okay, there's an area to improve. All right. It's like if you need to lose 5 pounds and you beat yourself up for it, how does that make you lose 5 pounds? It doesn't. So there's some programming going on there telling me that because I need to lose however much weight, that I'm a bad person. That is a pretty good sign that something's been planted in my head that I can look at and get rid of. Does that make sense? So I think anything that is not to your benefit, to help you improve your life, is most likely something you can work to change. Let's see. Hello, Deborah. And let's see. I'm skipping down just because there's a bunch here that I am getting behind. Let's see. Welcome, Julie. Let's see. Julie says, not long enough to be programmed, though. Okay. Because of, right. That makes sense. Because because they're kind of like not secondhand. What's the word? Secondary narc. You're not primary supply. You're not a source. You're a secondary supply, right? You're not the main supply. So it's very different to be around narcs when you are not the main supply. And but you can see what it does, right? Mari, you have a 3-year-old. Okay, Willful is right. 3-year-olds, yes, they are fun. I'm commiserating and delighted at the same time because they're both right. They're I think the more you can calm yourself around a small child, the more you can calm your energy and calm. This is my experience anyway. The more you can calm your way of being and your way of speaking to them, and make them feel like you are not going to go off the deep end verbally, that scares little kids. It comes in like chaos to them because they need us to be anchors, right? And they're learning from us how to cope with the world. So in my opinion, and this isn't really a parenting thing per se, usually on this live stream, but I do love little 3-year-olds. And I think that, as we work, it's the same thing as anything. When you're working on yourself, the world around you gets better. Unless you got narcs around you, then they get irritated and run away or leave you or whatever. But for the most part, the more you can learn to calm yourself, and the more you can, I really think mindfulness, for any mother, it's essential. It really is. I have a couple, try the look back on the videos here for the gratitude meditation that Paul gave that I put up about a month ago or so. It's short. It's like 6 minutes. It's very lovely. It's very easy. And that, if you could do that twice a day, just do that one alone, you might feel a little more calm. And that might help it might help you remember before you get, like you said, verbally reactive, that you don't wish to go there. Right. Anyway, Shastine, a good question. Yes, I would like to know more too. I guess there is a self-help info to look at, but yeah, if you don't have a therapist to help unpack that info, well, yeah, like I said, I think that I must lost my place. No, what did I do? Okay, I don't know where I am. I may just, okay, here we go. I think that going back to how to know if it's programming, right? Is that correct? I think I answered that. Maybe you typed that after I answered that. So I'm going to skip down here. Phoenix says, regarding children, boundaries are number one, I believe. Absolutely. That's true. Teaching them boundaries, but teaching it in a calm way that they don't feel that they see you mean business, but at the same time aren't feeling the chaos of our verbal, reactions. Thank you. I need to do more of that for yourself. You'll feel better. You really will. Let's see. Jonathan says, Phoenix, yeah. Julie has been with me in different community that we focused on sexual abuse. We're working on a lot of toxic past as a family. Okay. And Deborah saying hello to everybody. Let's see. Mara saying the 3-year-old is telling me no a lot, which when it comes to things she needs to do. She's a 3-nager stage. Yeah. Okay. It is hard to keep cool and succeed when they're telling you no. Sometimes, again, not a parenting thing normally here, but sometimes just offering choices rather than do this or else. If you give them 2 choices where either one would be okay with you, you can put your shoes on the shoe cubby, or you can put your shoes neatly put in the corner. Which one do you want to do? And it kind of throws them if you do that sometimes. The clever ones, not so much. Well, that's not true. The clever ones sometimes figure it out. The more willful ones, let's put it that way, that might not work with, but you can try it. Jonathan says, secondary narc supply. That's something for me to really, really think on. Right. If you're not the primary supply, they really do treat the person differently, and you don't get hit with the same intensity. Still toxic, but Freedom, hello. I saw a friend I haven't seen in years at a store. At first, it was a good feeling. said we should get together and exchange numbers and via Facebook. And while at home, I remembered what a toxic person she was. I'm so glad. Isn't that interesting? It's like an exciting feeling, and then like, oh wait, whoops, no thanks. It's good you remembered. Julie says, I freely admit I'm codependent though. One of my abusers left me with abandonment issues. So much is similar between a bog standard abuser and a narcissist. Well, yeah, I mean, toxic people are toxic people, right? There's a lot of similarities in, yeah, I mean, people who suffer narcissistic abuse don't corner the market in abuse, right? It's just one form of toxicity that we've experienced. And frankly, we can't say for sure that it is a narcissist either, because they aren't diagnosed most of the time. So toxic people, let's just call it that, at least for the sake of this conversation. So Amara saying, sorry to change the subject. I don't want to F my child up. Not at all. Not a problem. I hope that was helpful. I have 4, so have a little experience. I don't know. They're pretty good people. So, and I mean, my thing with children, to bring it back on topic, is teaching empathy. So vital, teaching empathy in a way where you are expressing it toward them, but also showing them how to give it back. Right. So the calmer approach tends to help with that. Right. And yeah. Okay. Let's see. And Johnson, don't apologize. It's good to bring it up. You know what? This is our lives. When we have been through any kind of abuse, or we have been with toxic people, and we have triggers and we have responses, and we don't want to repeat patterns. It's part of life. It's no different than asking about a job, really. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean? It's changing the subject to that. It's totally fine, because it's your life, and you're recovering and healing, and you're raising a child. So it's good to ask those questions so that you feel supported in the whole realm of your life, right? Not just for one topic of your life. 3-nager, yes, that was cute. Let's see, and I totally lost the place again. Here we go. Okay. That was a good meditation. Yes, I think that one is nice. And I think gratitude, when you're talking about dealing with children, sometimes needs to be remembered when they're acting like that. So I think it would be a good one. Emily Ray, hello. Is hoovering anything the narc does to get a reaction? Supplies, such as smear campaign. Oh, yeah. It's all about supply. It's all about a reaction and supply. They either don't have supply and they want you back to provide supply, or they are trying to get a reaction, which then gives them more supply. So yes, it is. And the smear campaign sometimes is to prove you wrong before you can just reveal who they are. They need to tell the world who they need to criticize you or smear you to the world before you can do anything to let the world know who they are, if that makes sense. So they discredit you. And once you're discredited, then who's going to believe you, right? So then they win. Well, it's not really a win, because all it does is reveal people who will listen to them. And those aren't the people you want around anyway. Freedom Lee says, I did not give her my number. So many bad memories of her trying to put me down over the years. Ugh. Yeah, I don't want to open that door. Thank goodness. And thank goodness you are to the point in healing where you can see it so fast and, now work to let go of the trigger, right? You did the right thing. And that is what I'm talking about in this list. If you saw the beginning, take action. Take action to regain your sense of agency. It doesn't feel as exciting as it sounds, because you still feel the trigger. However, now you can move on and affirm that you did the right thing for yourself, and take a break by having a conversation with someone that is good for you, maybe. Okay, so Mara's going to take a call. Let's see. Jonathan says, I know, right, Phoenix? I have a teenager and I'm laughing because it's true. Yes. Shastina, it doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It's kind of how Angie said, if you're told to go rake up the leaves, but you only learned about brooms and shovels, you don't know there's an easier way. Exactly. That's true. Oh, Angie and Dana talked about that this morning's stream. Did they? I didn't see because I'm driving kids around at that hour. Emily, hope Lise can clarify. What am I clarifying? Oh, the hoovering. Did I answer that? I think I did. If I didn't, ask again, please, because there's a lot of chat going on here, and I get a little lost. Let's see, Shastina. If a broom or a shovel is all I've learned, I would start cleanup the leaves with one of those, not knowing there's a rake. If you understand what I'm trying to explain, yes. How do I know if I'm missing something or if that's all I've known? Oh, well, you don't. You keep working on healing. And as you work on healing, new and exciting things are uncovered. And then you get new tools. So every time you learn how to care for yourself, every time you learn more and more about, I'm just going to take self-care because it's really one of the biggest tools we have in our toolkit, but it's not one thing. It's so many things, and it's a lifestyle. So as you start applying it, you start getting new tools. And as you get those new tools, you go, oh my gosh, this is so much easier this way, right? I'm going to stop using that shovel for the leaves because it's heavy when I can use this rake instead, right? So you don't know that you're missing. You don't know the things that you don't know. You just keep going. And that's why we do these live streams. That's why there's coaching. That's why there's, therapy. Therapy has other reasons and coaching does too, but it's one of the reasons is to help people and support groups and span. And that's why, I'm on there constantly trying to offer tips and ideas to help people get new tools. Because really, what is a rake to you? Maybe a shovel to someone else. That's the other thing. So you don't know till you try. So you just keep trying and you see it as a positive. Like, okay, if this isn't working, there's got to be a better way. Where's my rake, right? And Phoenix says self-expectations, respect, hit hard. Where to go? Let's see. Sorry. Quiet. Let's see. I do have, you're talking about a phone. I'm going to cut that part up. Julie, mother-in-law doesn't seem to understand the idea of boundaries. Right. And she won't. Well, that's the point. The thing is, they're not going to understand it, like it, change for it, respect it. A narcissist will not. They will push against any boundary you set. So basically, when you set a boundary, you have to not care. You have to set the boundary and not care as much as they don't care. Right? It's a very cold, it's a different way of viewing the world. You can't, you can only manage being around a narc. You can't change the narc. And you shouldn't have to bend over backwards for them either. So they're not going to see they're not going to understand boundaries. Nope. Not at all. They will completely either refuse to see it or push against it. That's right. That's what they do. Let's see. We're talking about phone here. Okay. Anything else, you guys? I have to go in a few minutes, and I will be back on Thursday. Hopefully at 4:30, not 4, but if 4, then I'll let you know. Trying to get it regular. Police close, right? Yeah, Julie says, I understand. I listen to my mother-in-law, but I don't share. Exactly. That's the safe way. Julie, let's see. The boundary has to become the most important thing. Right. The boundary is the most important thing. And it doesn't matter whether she gets it or doesn't. That's just, it is what it is. You do the thing anyway. If you say, if your boundary is we're leaving at 2:00, we'll be here for an hour, and she ignores you and keeps you there, you just get in the car at 2:00 and go. The boundary was set and you're doing it. Could I recap with a definition of hoovering? Anytime you have gone no contact or been discarded or devalued to the point of indifference, it can happen then too, like within they don't actually leave, they just devalue you to the point of indifference where they no longer even try, you know what I'm saying? And they love bomb you after that, that's a hoover. Or they make contact I mean, it's anytime they're trying to get you back into thinking about them at all in any way, shape, or form. That's a Hoover. I mean, it happens. Usually, we think of it as after a discard. That's the most classic, right? Discard and then silence, and then suddenly there they are again. That's a classic, kind of Hoover. But it can be literally anytime they can use. That's why they use flying monkeys. Those are Hoovers. If they send a flying monkey in to get information, it's gaining supply. So anytime they're trying to gain supply from you and make you get into your head, basically trying to get under your skin and into your head. And when they're doing that, they're Hoovering. So that's my that's my basic definition of a very actually it's more of a broad definition, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, and the dogs. I think it's time. Hey, Ruby wants to say hello and bark. I'm gonna have to move them somewhere else when the kids are home because they bark more. Okay, guys. Anything else before I head out with the barking dogs? I don't see any more questions coming in, so I'm gonna go before the barking gets crazy. And I have group in a few minutes anyway, so you guys take care. And I'll see you Thursday. I appreciate you too, Deborah. Goodbye, Tam. You take care too, Jonathan. And I'll see you guys Thursday. Bye-bye. La la, there it is. Bye.